Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. Of his own will he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of his creature.
So in James chapter 1, verses 12 through 18, we see some great truths that God has for us. And I want you to go back and look through and find those truths and just pour them into your heart. And just dwell on the fact that God is promising you some things. God has truths that we can hold on to and stand on as a firm foundation during these moments, during this crisis, during any trials of our life. So if you look at verse 12, we see God's truth about those who fight off temptation and don't fall into sin, don't give in to the temptation. But they're the folks that are blessed. They're the folks that are happy. They're full of his joy. We also see God's truth that he will reward his children for being faithful. In verse 13, we see God's truth that he's not the one that tempts us. He's the one that draws us to himself. In verse 14, the truth there is it's that Satan and it's our own sin nature that tempts us, not God. Verse 15, we see God's truth that sin always leads to death. Always. We don't get to play or dabble with sin without it costing. In verse 16, we see God's truth where we can be deceived, right? If we're not always intentional to honor God by serving him and pursuing God. And even then, we still need to be on guard because we can be deceived. In verse 17, all good gifts come from God. We don't make them. We don't deserve them. We don't earn them. They come from God. And we also see that God's truth to us is he is never changing. He's consistent. He's the same faithful Father yesterday, today, and forever. So I challenge you to go back and reread over these verses. See the truths of God and pour them into your heart. Stand firm on them and honor God with that.